Thank you, Lucy. And thank you, Mr. Cottle, and all my classmates and our families seated here today. In the movie, Call of the Wild, John Thornton says to his dog, Buck, "How do you feel about an adventure beyond all maps? We could go, you and I, where no one's ever been before. See what's out there." John Thornton lays out a map and draws an X outside the boundaries of the map. Then he says, "Sometimes the best journeys begin when the path ends." So, what's the most important thing we should know when our path ends at Pius and we chart our next path? St. Alphonsus Liguori tells us, "He who trusts in himself is lost, but he who trusts in God can do all things." But how do we know God will have our backs as we begin our journey after high school? Well, because he told us so. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus says not to worry about the material things of this world, but when we put the kingdom of God first, everything else falls into place. Father Jacques Philippe says trusting in God is like trusting the parachute will open after you jump. Everything is a blur until the parachute releases and guides you towards solid ground. Jumping gives God the opportunity to work in our lives. We have all encountered difficulties in high school that have prevented us from jumping or allowing God's parachute to open for us. I remember the excitement and the fear when I first walked into Mr. McKee's workshop. I hadn't even come through the doorway when he shouted, "Do you have an ID?" And there were a couple of times in his class I prayed for God's parachute to open, like the time Mr. McKee noticed that I had screwed the legs in the wrong spot of the nightstand I was making. He also got really annoyed at our class once because nobody knew who had drilled a hole in one of the workbenches. I don't think he was ever able to find out who it was, but we knew who it was. We all knew there was nowhere else he wanted to be more than in that class with us. On the afternoon before he passed away, I prayed a Divine Mercy Chaplet for him and trusted that God would bring Mr. McKee close to his heart in heaven. This unfathomable love and trust in God's mercy is what washed away my sadness after his passing and is what will sustain us after Pius. But how are we able to trust in God? Reaching for that handle to release the parachute requires complete surrender so that God can work in your life. It sometimes can feel like entrusting your life to the Mamba roller coaster at Worlds of Fun on the physics field trip. Complete surrender does not need to be perfect. God just needs us to trust in him and to say yes. As my dad sought to continue his education after college in Guatemala, he applied for numerous scholarships to study as an international student. Fluent in German, his first choice was to study in a college in Germany. But the choice that changed his life forever was his decision to accept his last choice to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. When he stepped off the plane into the sub-zero temperatures of January 1992, he still wasn't sure he had made the right choice until he met my mom several months later. As it turned out, God's plan for my dad's life was to raise a family of his own in Nebraska. There's also a student in this class who also said yes to God's plan to come to Nebraska. After studying in Singapore and Australia, he chose to come to Pius. He is from Vietnam and has become one of my best friends. He's also probably one of the best ping pong players I've ever seen. Whether he's buying lunch for his friends or even giving a homeless man a ride downtown, my life wouldn't be the same without him. Sometimes you just need a friend to go all in with you. And in my sophomore year, my AP Human Geography class said yes to fundraising for an organization called Mary's Meals. Mary's Meals strives to give every child a daily meal in their place of education so that they can learn to their highest potential in the classroom. We were able to raise $2,000 to feed 100 children in Zambia for a year. All of us have examples like that when we say yes to big things, or even small things that have a big impact. Trusting and knowing that God has our back is a virtue called hope. Hope gives us the longing for the kingdom of heaven and the desire to spread that longing for the good of others. I have seen the class of 2025 live out the virtue of hope everywhere, whether that be praying together after a soccer game, walking on our knees to the chapel to celebrate the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Spanish class, or singing the most profound songs in the choir during Mass. Pope Francis called all of us to be pilgrims of hope during this Jubilee year. We are called to be athletes, soldiers, workers, and college students of hope. No matter where your journey into the unknown takes you, Proverbs chapter 23, verse 18 tells us, "There is surely a future hope for you, and that hope will not be cut off." Thank you.